All right. I think we're going now. I think we're live. Hopefully, we don't have any issues tonight. We've had issues the last 2 weeks in a row, cut us short. So if it gets cut short, go back to my channel, look for another live broadcast because I had to start over last weekend. If it gets, if I just freeze up and I'm gone for a while or something like that, look for another one or look for a notification. If you've got notifications turned on, I'll start another broadcast if I have to. But I restarted my router beforehand. I restarted the internet. Sorry, the modem, not the router. Restarted my computer beforehand, so we should be all good to go. Let's hope for it anyway. All right, let's get disclaimers out of the way. We'll jump into this one. This is a weekly live broadcast. I don't have a topic planned out. This is just ask me anything. So I do my best to respond to all the comments, all the chat that comes in during the live broadcast itself. So we'll talk about pretty much anything you guys want to talk about. The only things I ask, keep it polite, keep it family friendly. There's no need to be hateful with anybody, call anybody names, don't start cussing at us. We'll have to kick you out if you do. Other than that, I think everything's pretty much fair game at this point. I think I need to widen the camera view a little bit. I see my hands. I talk with my hands, and they're getting out of the camera view, aren't they? Here, let's do that a little bit. Let's see if I can do that without messing things up. There we go. Widened up a little bit. Still a little bit. That's not too bad. I think that's okay. We'll be all right. All right. Joy Guthrie, good to see you. Says hello from Western Oregon. Thanks, Chris, for all the time or taking the time out of your busy day to educate and entertain us. We are more than welcome. I don't know that I'm incredibly entertaining, but or educational for that matter, but thank you for the kind comments. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate that. Hey, Jesse, good to see you. He says good evening to everyone. William Markle, hello to you. Joan Landry, good evening to you. Hey, Verna, good to see you, Verna. Ed got Bates here. Good to see you. And Blessed with Pets, good to see you too. You made it on time this time. I'm just teasing. We don't keep attendance, but had to give you a hard time about it. All right, who we got here? Miss Kitty from Utah, good to see you. Katrina from California, good to see you. And Shay Phillips says, oh my gosh, hey, first time catching you live. Well, thanks for joining us. I appreciate that. Hopefully we don't disappoint you. James says, good evening from Mountain View, Missouri. I don't know exactly. We've talked about this before. Where is Mountain View exactly? Mountain View, Missouri. Let's find out real quick because I got to know. That's Christian Church, not Christian County. That's taking a minute to pull up, so I'll have to go back to it in a minute. Hopefully that's not a sign that we're having internet issues already. I hope not. Owen says, how you doing? I'm doing well. Thanks. Hopefully you are too. And then let's see. Toronto. Who's that from Toronto? Tony Gaiangulano. That's a hard name to pronounce. Sorry if I butchered that one. I know I probably did. All right, let's see. Where is Mountain View, Missouri? Give me something around it. There's West Plains. I know where West Plains is. Okay, so it's a little ways over there. I know where it is, though, now. Gives me a little bit of an idea. All right. We're not quite neighbors, but hey, same state, so almost. Where are we at here? I lost track of my comment. There we are. Who's that? Gudros. Gidros? I can't ever remember. Is it Gidros or Gudro? I can't remember. I'm going to get it wrong every single time. I know it, but good to see you guys. Thanks for joining up here. Lamonte, good to see you. Katrina says, I'll be putting nest boxes in with my does tomorrow. Well, good luck with your kindling. I hope it goes well. And congratulations ahead of time. Strange Universe says, ask lots of quail questions, folks. Well, Strange Universe, ask all the questions you want. I'll do my best to get them answered for you. Shay says, Ontario, Canada here, and I like how I can relate to some of your videos about keeping animals warm in cold weather. Well, good. I mean, yeah, you're way up there north, so it gets probably way colder than it does down here. But people don't think it gets cold down here, you know. Well, people in the north don't think it gets cold here. People in the south don't think it gets warm here. So we get both. We get super hot summers, and then we get cold winters. Not as cold as what you get. We typically don't get much below 0 Fahrenheit. And when we do, it doesn't usually stay there very long, but it does get cold. All right, where are we at here? Jared, the American, says, hey, Chris, with everything going on, I think this is the best time to raise rabbits, chickens, and other animals for livestock. Well, it's not a bad time, that's for sure. I don't really worry too much about what's going on in the world. I know how it all ends. You know, I'm a believer, so I know how it all ends. I don't worry about it too much. I figure God's going to see me through all of it, but it's not a bad idea to be a little bit prepared, raise some of your own food, Don't be relying on everybody else to provide for you. Don't be, don't rely on just the grocery stores. Have you seen the price? Good grief, the price of food has gone up like ridiculous. Hamburger, 80/20 hamburger at Walmart is $4.57 a pound. That's ridiculously high. Now, we had one of our local butcher shops did a sale last week, $2.99 a pound for 80/20 hamburger. I bought 10 pounds of it to store up. That won't last a whole long time, but still, I got 10 pounds and got a huge savings on it. Anyway, everything else is, I'll rant all hour long on that. I better move on to other things, but you're right. It's a good time. Raise some of your own meat, raise some of your own vegetables, raise rabbits, chickens, other animals, whatever you can get away with raising. Raise some of your own meat, store it away, cut inflation costs a little bit, or fight inflation costs a little bit, and hopefully you're okay. Blessed with Pet says, what's your opinion on keeping rabbits in an insulated shed? I don't see anything wrong with that. If you want to keep them in an insulated shed, keep them in an insulated shed. It's probably not necessary. Rabbits do perfectly well in very cold weather, but if you've got an insulated shed that you can keep them in, why not? It makes it a lot more comfortable for you to go in and take care of them, so nothing wrong with that. James says, over by West Plains, you're talking about where Mountain View is. Yeah, I looked it up on the map, but yeah, I know where West Plains is, so now I got a pretty good idea of where you're located. Scrap 5000 says hello to everyone. Hello to you too. Let's see, Kim, is that Kim TD? Is that right? Says, I put some cannabis leaves in my quail cage as they're very healthy for humans. I'll let you know if they eat them. Yeah, I'd be interested to see if they do eat them, and then if they eat a whole lot of other stuff after they eat them, but I'm just kidding. Kind of a side story here, just a little interesting thing. Marijuana in Missouri it's legal for medical marijuana. It's not legal for recreational, but that just happened like a year or two ago. So now there's all these, like dispensaries have popped up and grow facilities. We've got one right across the street from work. It's a grow facility. My office is kind of out of town just a little bit. There's not a whole lot out there. So they bought a warehouse right across the street from us, and they're growing in that warehouse. Well, it just smells like marijuana all the time. So much so that I went to lunch the other day, grabbed lunch, came back out, and my truck smelled like marijuana. I thought, man, if you're a police officer, you could just sit right there and pull everybody over and be like, I smell marijuana. I got a right to search your car. They haven't done that, but all right. Rainy Day says, hey, Chris, luckily we're catching you live again. Hey, lucky for me. I'm glad that you're here. Thank you very much for joining. Joan says, just starting with rabbits this year, going to start breeding them soon. How big should the grow out cage be? Well, it depends on how many rabbits you're going to have. I typically will grow out my rabbits. It depends on how fast they grow too. A lot of times I just leave them in with mother. My cages are 36 by 30 inches around, and 24 inches tall. But I just leave them in with their mom most of the time. Not always. If they're growing out fast, so if they're going to be processing weight by 8 weeks, I just leave them in with their mom until it's processing time, and then go ahead and process them at that point. It starts to get a little bit crowded, but only for like the last week and a half because they're growing so fast. I mean, it's not a big deal. If I do have to separate them out, I will tend to, if they're going to go past 8 weeks, then I'll go ahead and separate them out into separate cages because past 8 weeks, you start getting males that get a little frisky with the females and just not a good thing. So I'll separate them out by gender at that point. But you can easily fit, 5 or 6 full-size rabbits in one of those 20 or 36 by 30 cages. It's not long-term. So it works fine for grow out pens. Now, there are a lot of people, though, that will build like rabbit tractors for their grow outs. You could do that and make them much bigger and give them much more room. There's nothing wrong with that either. So you can do it however you want to. Hopefully that helps a little bit. Blessed with Pet says, yes, I'm actually on time. There's no time. I mean, you can show up whenever you want to. It's fine. It doesn't bother me a bit. I'm just giving you a hard time. Linda Talon, I think it is, says good afternoon from Texas. It's actually evening here. I don't know what time. It should be evening in Texas too, but anyway, good afternoon, good evening to you too. Let's see, who's that? The G. Okay, G-Tros. Okay, got it. G-Tro. You've told me that before. I cannot remember that ever for some reason, but keep reminding me. I'll get it down eventually. Verna says, in Ohio, if you don't have a few days below zero, illness runs rampant. Yeah, it's probably pretty much everywhere that way. Let's see. William Markle says, I'm thinking of keeping rabbits in rather large ground cages, being a rabbit cage clean. Wait, keeping a rabbit cage clean is a thing I hate. Many say that rabbits on the ground get sick. Your thoughts, please, sir. It's going to depend a little bit on your area. Now, you put them in contact with the ground, they're going to have much higher likelihood of catching parasites, disease, illness, all those kinds of things. But that's kind of dependent on your area. How high of a population of parasites do you have? You probably don't know. I do know in my area that if I don't give my dog a heartworm, deworm pill every month, once a month, he gets worms, usually like roundworms or pinworms or something like that. So I'm sure that the rabbits would too, but I don't know. I haven't actually done, put them on the ground. I also know that most wild game that I hunt usually has some kind of parasite in it. It's just part of hunting wild game. You're just kind of aware of that. And that's why you make sure you cook that stuff thoroughly. But but again, that's going to depend a little bit on what kind of concentration of parasites, all that kind of stuff you have in your area. So it's something to think about. Now, as far as keeping rabbit cages clean, do you use a solid bottom cage now is what I'm wondering. Because if you use a wire bottom cage, put resting mats in there for them so they can get off the wire if they need to. They should stay pretty clean on their own. You shouldn't need a whole lot of cleaning. And if you're going to put them in large ground cages, you're going to have very large ground cages for them to keep from having it, the urine and the feces and all that piling up on you. You're also going to have to worry about them digging out of it because they will dig. Rabbits are diggers. So you're probably going to have to put something on the sides, bury the wire down, something like that to keep them in, keep predators out. Those would be the things that I would be concerned with it. But it's not a terrible idea. I'm not trying to talk you out of it necessarily if that's what you want to do. Just those are my thoughts why I don't do it myself. I actually find it easier to keep them in cages, but that's just me. Everybody does things a little bit differently, and there's nothing wrong with doing it that way. Linda says, I didn't even know what below zero. I don't even know what below zero feels like. It's not as bad as you would think, honestly. And the cold is not the worst part. It's the wind. When it gets cold like that, if there's any wind, it's just brutal. Brutal. But the cold itself's not that bad. You can go out in 0 degree. If there's no wind, it's not bad at all, really. Katrina says, and it's not like salaries have matched that. I think you're talking about when I was talking about inflation, right? You're right. Yeah, salaries haven't gone up. And the people here in Missouri voted in a raise in the minimum wage over the next couple of years. It went up last year and it's going to go up again next year and a year after that. And I get why they do it because they just think, I'm going to get a raise in my pay. What they don't realize is that just causes everything to go up. It doesn't help anybody. It hurts the middle class is what it does because our pay doesn't go up, but the cost of everything else, cost of production goes up. So the cost of goods goes up. But they just don't get it. It's not their fault. They just don't understand. Nicholas, there was a time in my life where I didn't understand that either. So I can relate. Nicholas says, glad I caught you on live finally up here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, was raising quail. And I'm taking a break right now. I will continue soon, I hope. Yeah, there is nothing wrong with taking a break from things if you want to take a break. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Good luck with you when you do start getting back into it. Good luck with getting going. I'm sure it won't be that bad because you've done it before, so you know what to expect. I'm sure you'll do great with them. Bless with Pets says, fellow believer. Yes, I am a fellow believer. That makes us family, right? We're all family in Christ anyway. Let's see. Katrina says, she says, as long as they can't dig out. That's to William Markle. She says, as long as they don't dig out. Yeah, that's one of the things I said too, I think. But you probably posted in Missouri, do you get black soldier flies in the summertime? Yeah. Verna says, usually in the summer, rainy day. Yeah. In the summertime, it varies as to whenever they actually move in. We didn't have as many of them this year as we do a lot of years, but I think it was because of the drought. The drought probably kept them, but still had them. But, once it warms up, so usually probably around like June, into May, June, somewhere right around in there. Let's see. Denver says, hey, Chris, it's been a while since I've watched on Thursday. Well, thanks for joining us tonight. I appreciate that. Let's see. I've got a Verna says, ooh, skunkweed. Yeah, it is kind of, it's all the time. It's every day. Now, I'm assuming when winter hits and we're about there, that they're going to have to move a lot of that stuff inside. It might kind of be better. I don't know. But it's funny. We have clients come and visit, and you walk outside with them and they're like, I smell weed. And you're like, yeah, it's across the street. Trust me. It's that place over there. Shay says, what would you recommend with housing aggressive quail at 6 weeks, learning to mate? Housing aggressive quail at 6 weeks, learning to mate. Well, okay, so your quail are starting to get aggressive at 6 weeks old. They're starting to hit maturity. So you got the roosters starting to crow and they're starting to get aggressive. Two things could be happening there. One could be just breeding behavior. They're starting to try to breed the females and sometimes the males too, because they're just hopped up on hormones. They don't know what's going on. They're just crazed. So where was I going with that? So there's a couple of things you can do. You can just make sure your hen to rooster ratio is right. 1 rooster for every 5 hens or so, and just let them work it out. Usually they will. If you're going to separate them out at this point, though, what you're going to end up having a hard time with is combining them later. Because once the quail have been established in their groups, like if you separate them out and they get established that way, it's really hard to introduce new birds to each other, especially during the breeding season when they're crowing and laying eggs and all those kinds of things. So you can do that. You could separate them out. If they're going to be birds that you're going to process anyway, you probably only got another 2 weeks of it anyway. So if it's not super bad aggression, just don't worry about it. Let them work it out. They'll usually calm down a little bit. If it's getting bad, if they're pecking around their eyes and their face and that kind of stuff, then what I would try to do is identify which birds it is that are doing that. You should be able to stand and watch them shortly, or they're probably the birds that whenever you go up to the pen, they're the ones that come up and peck your hand, that kind of thing. Then I would identify those birds, remove them, put them to the side, and make sure you call them out. If you're going to keep the others for breeders, call out the aggressive birds, because I do believe that aggression can be a genetic trait. It can be passed on, and you don't want to breed that into it. So hopefully I gave you a couple ideas there. I kind of lost my train of thought if I covered everything or not. But if there's more, you need more, let me know, and I'll expand on that a little bit more if I need to. Verna says, Chris, I'm having problems with water bottles. Seems to flood their poop trays, the cavies. Oh, that's tough. Yeah. Okay, so you're assuming you're using the ball type water bottles, the ones where they lick them and the water comes out. It's got a little ball in there that's supposed to keep the water from coming out. Those always leak. They'll never not leak. So I switched over when I was using water bottles to the ones that have the little valve that they bite onto that lets the water out. Those do a much better job of not leaking. So what you might try, now you're going to have to train them to use that because they won't know what it is right offhand. But what you can do is give them, a day or two of that without, trying to figure it out a day, 2 days, something like that. Depends on how dry it is in your area, how thirsty they get. And then you push the little thing in for them. They figure out there's water coming from that. They lick the water up, and then they're probably pretty thirsty at that point. So you move the bottle a little bit away from them, out of their cage. They'll grab it to pull it back in, and they bite down on that thing when they do, and the water comes out, and then they usually have figured it out. That's how I train rabbits to it anyway. So I'm assuming it would work with the cavies too, but I don't know. I haven't actually got experience with that. But that's my suggestion for that. Excuse me. All right. There's people talking to each other. I'm going to skip your guys' comments, let you talk to each other. Blessed with Pets says, when we get a shop or garage, my dad said I can have his 8x12 shed, and I plan on building stacked cages and giving each of my rabbits 30-inch by 12-foot cages. Yes, I like to be extra and give them lots of room. Nothing wrong with giving them lots of room. Go for it. If I would suggest that if you can build them outside, do it outside, because you're not going to find a tray that's going to fit under a 30-foot or a 30, did you say 30-foot? 12-foot, a 12-foot cage. You're not going to find a tray. And not only that, but trays are just a huge pain to empty. So, that would be my thought. That's why I have them outside, if you're prepared to deal with that. Also realize that especially bucks, bucks and does both, will not just urinate down. They'll urinate on the walls, out the side of the cage. So it's going to get all over everything. So just as long as you're prepared for that, you can cover the walls with plastic, sheeting or something like that to keep them from, urinating on the walls and getting it all nasty and making it rot out and fall apart. Then that's a couple of things to just consider there. All right. Metalhead Homestead. That's a great name. Says, how's it going? I'm doing well. Hopefully you are too. Uncle Dude says, about a week ago, I found one of my roosters dead, no marks on it. Today, I found a hen dead. Same thing, not a mark on it. Any thoughts of what could be happening? Man, it could be anything. I mean, those are the kinds of questions that you just can't. Got me. Who knows? Now, you found two birds, one a week ago, one today. I don't know how many birds you have, but that's probably not a huge area for concern. Who knows? Could be a genetic thing. Sometimes birds have a genetic. Some birds are born with a genetic thing where they just suddenly die for no reason whatsoever. It's just some kind of sudden death gene. I can't remember what it's called, but it happens, and it happens in other animals too. But it does happen sometimes. So you may be better off because you're not having to worry about passing that on to other birds. It could be, I mean, there could be a number of things. If they don't have any marks on them, it doesn't sound like a predator. If you have another one die, then it's time to start looking into that. And then I would start doing a dissection on them, checking for their liver, checking their liver for spots, make sure it's not coccidiosis or some other kind of parasite that's getting to them. Wear gloves when you do it, just to be safe. But other than that, I wouldn't worry about it. I have a bird that just die every once in a while for no reason, don't know why. And, usually it just clears itself up. It's not a big deal. Well, let's see. Let me jump on. Sorry, I'm skipping through some of these comments that are each other. Rick says, nothing but bad luck when I keep anything on the ground. Rabbit and quail, all bad. Yeah, it can happen. It can be done. But yeah, you are standing a much higher chance of predators, parasites, illness, disease, all those kinds of things. But not everybody has a huge problem with that. I mean, it's very highly dependent on your area, what your area is like. Bob says, building quail cages now, copying you pretty much. Each cage is 2x4 with a wall at 24 and 15 by 24 sandbox inside. Thinking 7 hens and 2 roos in each one. We agree that should be okay. Okay, let me get the measurements down here. So it's 2 foot by 4 foot. So that's 8 square foot. Yeah, you could easily do 7 hens and 2 roos in there. You could probably do 15, 20 birds actually, if you wanted to, and it would be okay. But 7 hens, 2 roos, 9 birds, no problem. Yeah, you're going to be just fine with that. All right. William says, thanks, man. You're welcome. I forgot what I answered for you already, but you are welcome. I could look back up and find it, but we'll move on. Donna says 3 bunnies lived of 9. I took them to my friend, has 200 does. Okay. What? So you had 9 bunnies and 3 survived. The other 6 didn't survive. So you took them to your friend. Man, I'm sorry to hear that. I don't know what could have possibly done that. I'm guessing, I don't know if you were having a conversation with somebody else and there was more to that story, or if you and I were talking and I forgot already what we were talking about, but I don't know how to respond to that one other than just to say, I'm sorry that happened. There's got to be something going on there. Don't know what it is, but I'm sorry. Rainy days, talking to Verna, but didn't tag her, so I read the comment already. It says water bowls for quail. I was wondering if I could do that, especially for winter. Would you use marbles in the bowl so the birds don't get soaking wet? Okay, I'll tell you what I do for watering. Right now, I'm using an electric watering. Well, not right now, but I will this winter. I got them last year. My wife bought them for me. I never would have believed they worked, but they did. These electric, they're in my Amazon shop. So if you go to the bottom of any of my videos, there's a link to my Amazon shop. You can get there. They're a 3-gallon, I think it is, water container that has the nipples on the side, the little, poultry nipples is what they are. And it plugs in. It's got a heat plate under it that kicks on when it gets below like 40 degrees or something like that, 39 degrees, whatever. So it kicks on and heats it up and keeps it heat. It did a good job. Now you got to protect it from the wind. So they stay inside my sandboxes where it's covered and completely protected from the wind. But they did a great job keeping the water from freezing all year last year. Birds always had water. It was great. Now, what I did before that, when I didn't have, I have to run an extension cord is the only bad thing about that. And if you don't want to do that, what I did was I got very much like my feeders, Tupperware style containers, cut a hole in them for the birds to stick their head through, and then put the water in there so they stick their head through there, get their drink that way. So you can keep them out of it. It's got a lid on it. Because if you don't, you're right. They'll jump in the water. They're not very smart. They'll jump in the water. They'll foul it up. It'll get nasty. They'll get wet. It's just not good. So that's what I used. It worked really well. Keep 2 of them. So basically, I just filled about halfway up. Not all the way up to the holes, about halfway to the holes in the morning. Put a little more water on top of it at night. They'd go and get a drink as soon as I put water in there. And then the next day, take that one in to thaw while I put another one in there with, and water them again the same way the next day. So that worked out pretty well for me there. Anyway, hopefully that helps. Get a drink here. Jared says, good evening, sir. I had a quail hen with a wound on her breast. Never seen that before. Healed up fine, but now I just got a second one with the same thing. So I don't, who knows why? Excuse me. It could be, sorry, I choked on my own saliva. It could be like another bird doing that to them, but I don't know if that's likely or not. Their skin's really thin, especially right there. So, there may be something in your cage that's causing that. Look for sharp edges. Look for, something like that. Maybe they're bumping into that and wounding themselves on that right there. But, like you said, they're probably okay. I mean, they heal up from some pretty miraculous injuries. It's probably not a huge deal. But I don't know. That's not something that I've had to deal with on a regular basis. I mean, I get a bird with a wound on it every great once in a while, but not like reoccurring in the same place, kind of on their chest or their breast or whatever. It's not a common thing. So I don't know if there's anything specific that really stands out as being the cause of that. Oh no, Blessed with Pets says, of course you got your internet fixed. Now mine is terrible. Yeah, it happens. I know. It's frustrating. Let's see. I'm going to jump. Hey, there's JL. Is that right? JL Momaj. Hopefully I got that right. Says hi. Hello to you. Strange Universe says, made up my mind on Quail not working on a source. Oh, made up my mind on Quail now working on a source. If I can find without shipping, all the better. Check Craigslist in your area. Somebody probably raises quail in your area, and you might be able to pick some up from them. Once you get some experience with, and you're in Pennsylvania, Berks County, Pennsylvania. So, yeah, I don't know who to recommend to you there, but look on Craigslist and see. Somebody in your area might raise quail, and you might be able to find some locally. Once you get some experience with shipping, then you can order some eggs in and hatch them yourself, or not with shipping. Experience with incubating, order some eggs in. But I'd wait until you get a little bit of experience, know what you're doing, make sure you got some confidence there. Let's see. Scrap 5000 says, just wanted to share. I started collecting eggs yesterday for my first quail hatch since last year. I got 18 so far, hoping to incubate 80 eggs in 2 separate batches of 40 over 2 weeks of collecting. Well, that sounds pretty good. Good luck with your hatches. I hope it works out. Sounds like you got a lot of birds and you haven't hatched in a year? Since last year, huh? You got a lot of birds laying eggs. If you got 18, you just started collecting yesterday. So, I guess that's not a lot. 9 yesterday, 9. Yeah, okay. JL says, let's see, I bred my rabbit on the 8th of September and she still hasn't had her kits. Do you think the breeding didn't take? Probably, let's see, that'd be 30, 34. Give her another 3 or 4 days just to be sure. But yeah, I think you're probably on the right track. It probably didn't. You probably should go ahead and make plans to rebreed her and try again. But I'd give her just a couple more days just to be sure. Rainy Day says, looking for a way to keep water for quail without problems with it freezing. I think I already addressed that one. If you missed it, ask again. I'll readdress it, but I think I already talked about that probably right after you posted that comment. And didn't there's a little bit of a delay. I'm a little bit behind. You guys have posted comments that I haven't gotten to yet. So Verna says, Chris, even that one leaks. I have it, and the tray is full of water. Oh, that's terrible. I don't have a great suggestion for you then. I didn't have problems with those leaking. The problem with the ball valve is they got to have a vacuum basically and not to leak. So I don't know. You might try. I don't know. Honestly, that's the only thing that I know that doesn't leak, or doesn't leak for me. I don't have a good suggestion for you. I'm sorry, Verna. Where are we at here? Gaff, the GGM says, yippee, I made it. Well, thank you for joining. I appreciate it. How are we doing on time? We got 30 minutes left. We're halfway through. Emergency prep guy, good to see you. Oh no. Berna says, haven't figured out how the boars are pooping outside their cages. LOL. Yeah, that doesn't sound pleasant to me. I don't know. Maybe you need to get a bigger tray on the outside, that stretches out the outside of the cage just for that reason. That's strange. William says, I'm going to try my plan. 2 12 by 3 feet runs. Hutch at the base. The base will be 6 by 6 feet. 6 by 6 feet too. Okay. Sounds like a plan. Try it out. Let us know how it works. Shay says, we get negative 40 weather. We know how to do the rabbits water, but this is the first year with quails. Yeah, well, I mean, it'd be the same thing with the rabbits probably. If you're doing the rabbits, you're probably doing them in bowls. And like I said, Tupperware style container with a lid on it, just cut a hole in the side. It's the same process. Put a little water in it in the morning. They'll go and get a drink. A little more in the evening. They'll go and get a drink, trade it out the next day. But make sure it has a lid on it. Because otherwise they'll get in it and they'll get wet and foul it up. It'll be nasty. So you get negative 40 weather or negative 40 wind chill. I don't know. Negative 40 sounds. Is there any place that really gets negative 40 and stays that way for very long? Maybe it does. I don't know. Scrap says, okay, talking to Vern, I'll let you guys talk. Anxious Aussie says, sold my first homegrown birds today, coming together slowly but surely. Awesome. Congratulations, by the way. Yeah, Vernon posted a link to, I think, my video, maybe? I don't know. Let's open it up. Somebody's video on watering. We'll see who it is. Oh, no, it won't pull up for me. Hopefully that does not mean I'm having an internet connection. I think we're still good, aren't we? Somebody let me know. I'm looking at the new comments. Let me know. Are we still connected? Everything's good? Okay, we're good. We're good. Okay, got it. Okay, good. I'm going to keep going then, not worry about that one. Blessed with Pets says, I'm doing solid floors on most of it, and I'm going to have basically a wire bottom section as a litter box, and I'm using my do more cages and repurposing that wire for that part, and I get 30 by 36 trays. Okay, well, it sounds like you got a good plan for it then. Good luck. I hope it works out well. That sounded sarcastic, kind of. I didn't mean it that way. I mean, really, good luck. I hope it works out well. Alexander says, what are your goals moving forward with your quail? Do you have any big plans to grow your flock size? Well, I grow it and let it go back down from time to time. I don't have any necessarily huge plans on anything massive. I don't keep a ton of birds. I don't need to keep a ton of birds. That's a great thing about quail is I usually let them drop down a little bit in numbers in the wintertime, in the fall and the wintertime. I may try to get one more hatch out of them this year before winter really hits hard. But other than that, I'll just kind of let them dwindle down to just a breeding set, basically probably 10 birds, 12 maybe, and then kick them back up in the spring. And I do quite a few usually in the spring and the summertime, but they're all meat runs. So it's, I get lots of birds and then it shrinks down to just that breeding pair again, and then lots of birds and then it shrinks back down. So, I don't have any huge, plans necessarily, but you never know. Katrina says, I just got my small egg producer certification in the mail and I have a book of rules to review and I can sell to restaurants and etc. now. Well, awesome. Good luck. I hope that works out well. It depends on how many people you have in your area, of course, doing that. You may have a good market there. Who knows? So good luck. I hope that does good. Oh, see Jupiter. Good to see you. Says, hope you're doing well, Chris. I am. I hope you are too. Anxious Aussie says, awesome stuff. Yes, being careful to comply with the rules here too. Rainy day. Thanks so much, Chris. Raised quail in Florida, but this is my first shot in Missouri. Oh, in Missouri, they're going to do just fine. Don't worry about it. I raise them in Missouri all the time. Yeah, just give them a windbreak. They're going to be fine in the wintertime. Our winters are not that brutal. It's going to be okay. Scrap 500 says, or 5,000 says, Chris, important. I bought and used a chicken plucker for the first time this week. Oh my gosh. I had plucked by hand for 43 years and I will never go back now. We need to get you sponsored or we need to get you sponsored or a GoFundMe. Yeah. Yeah. I can't quite justify the cost of it. I only do a handful of meat chickens a year, and I just can't quite justify the cost yet, but who knows? Anyway, congratulations on yours though. I'm sure it is a life changer for sure. And it goes on to say the plucker worked great for both huge roosters as well as chickens. We so need to get you one. I'm in to donate for you. Well, thank you so much for that. I appreciate the offer. Shay says, hoping my females lay eggs soon. They are 6 weeks. This is the first attempt with quails. We got 6 and then another 20. So you're hoping the females lay. They're 6 weeks. Okay. 6 weeks old. And then another 20. Okay, good. Sorry, I had to reread that, make sure I was seeing it. 6 weeks old. It's unlikely they're going to start laying just yet, but give them a couple of weeks. They should, assuming you've got enough light. We're going into wintertime now, so the days are getting shorter, and they need 14 hours a day of light in order to lay eggs, crow, all that good stuff. So if you don't have light on them right now, put an external light on them, a solar light, something. It doesn't have to be super bright, but you need to extend that daylight a little bit to keep them laying. Otherwise, they'll shut down, which is just perfectly natural. Strange Universe says I could put some feeders out to the Amish too, I imagine. Some feelers out to the Amish too, I imagine. Feelers for what are we talking about? Did I miss something somewhere? Were you the one? Who was it talking about? I get lost with who's talking about what. So sorry, I'm trying to go back and see that. Anyway, yes, who knows? There may be a good market with the Amish. I don't know what you're talking about exactly. I lost track. Uncle Dude says, I got called away and didn't hear the answer. What was the question? I lost track already. I'm sorry about that. What was the question? Ask again. I'll answer again. No problem. Jennifer says, hello, all. Give Chris some likes. He is marvelous for us newbies. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Lots of people telling me I'm good when I was asking about if we're still hearing me. Okay, we're good. Shay says, I'm in Canada, Northern, LOL, -40, yup. Oh, yeah, okay, maybe so. I don't know. Celsius or Fahrenheit? Shay says, you do quails, rabbits, what else? Your canning videos are awesome too. Yeah, I do quail and rabbit are primarily. I usually do some spring meat chickens. I get a little chicken tractor out there that I usually do some Cornish cross chicks in the spring. We didn't this year. Couldn't find them. I mean, we were a little bit late getting into it and just couldn't find them. They were all sold and selling out just as, I'd hear somebody has them, I'd call them, and they just sold them out just like 15 minutes before I called. So hopefully next spring will be much better. Shaylee says, well, I already read that one. Sage Wolf says, Chris, what is your opinion on the heated water container you used last year? It worked great, actually. Yeah, I was surprised because I was kind of skeptical. I didn't think they'd work. My wife bought them for me, as a surprise. And they actually worked. They did a great job. So, yeah, I'm cheers to her for that because I would not have bought them. I wouldn't have believed it. I'm one of those, I'm from Missouri. You got to show me kind of thing. Nelson says, I use small heated water bowl. Haven't had any trouble with them jumping in it. Zone 2A proud. Awesome. I've had problems with my quail when I don't have a cover on the water. They get in it almost every time. Shay says, my husband and I have a deal. I can have any animal as long as he can eat them. I can get attached to breeder pair. Well, that's not a bad deal, is it? Let's see. Jared says, also, do you get raccoons on your property? Back in March, I was walking around my campus around sunset and saw one eating out of a trash can. Yeah, we get raccoons. I get raccoon. I get fox. There was a skunk out there the other day right under the quail hutch. I walked out. It was dark, still because I go out early morning. It's like 6 o'clock in the morning. Still dark out. I was going out to feed the rabbits, feed the quail. And I went to the shed to check on the baby quail that are in the brooder out there. All 3 of them. That's all I have. Terrible hatch. I got a video coming out. I'll explain all that. But went out to go check on them first. Usually I go out and feed the quail out and then go check on them. For some reason, I just decided, I'll go check on the quail in the shed first, which is inside my fence. The quail hutches are outside my fence. And Max, my dog, he just tore out to that fence back there by the quail hutches, inside the fence, but still back there by the quail hutches, and just starts going crazy. And I shine my light over there, and there's a skunk standing right under the quail hutch. And it's not 10 feet from my fence to the quail hutches. So it was 10 feet away from him. Now, there's a fence separating them, but that skunk was standing right there. It did have its tail up in the air, but it was facing him. I called him, said, come. Luckily, he came to me. I didn't stay there and bark. He came to me. We went inside, and I waited till the sun came up before I went back out there, and the skunk was gone at that point. But, yeah, we get skunk, we get raccoons, we get foxes. I've even seen a coyote or two run by not too far from here. But never had a problem with them. They've actually never – I put a trail cam out there once and did catch glimpses of raccoons, coming to the hutches, reaching up, but they never got anything. They never figured out how to get into them, and they gave up pretty quick and moved on. Emergency Prep Guy says, about quail laying in the winter, I have noticed it's easier to keep them laying than start them up again if you let them stop for short days. Yeah, I agree. It is. You're right. It's sorry, I got distracted by another comment. You're right. Yeah, once they stop laying, it is hard to get them back started again in the wintertime. And I also noticed that even if I keep lights on them, it seems like the shortest days, like around the end of December, 1st of January, right around in there where the days are the shortest, they still shut down. They still quit laying for usually about 3 weeks or so. And then they'll start laying again and kind of slowly and then pick back up. And then we're in spring and we're all good. Scrap 5000 says, Chris, I'm not going to let this go. LOL. Seriously, let's get you a sponsorship or a GoFundMe. This will be a great way to thank you for all that you do. I'm calling the company tomorrow. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And the brand is Super Handy. Huh? I'm not familiar with them. Let me look them up. Super Handy. There we go. Huh, interesting. Okay, I'll take a look at that a little bit later. Strange Universe says, isn't negative 40 degrees Celsius the same Celsius or I don't know, is it? I don't know Celsius. I'm a stupid American. Let's find out. It is the same. You're right. It's exactly the same. It shows you what I know. Uncle Dude says, I had a rooster died. Okay, I know what we're talking about now. Okay, so what I said was, well, I don't remember exactly what I said, but I'll say it again. Probably pretty similar to what I said anyway. So you had a rooster die, then a hen die again a week later, and who knows what could have caused that. I mean, there's so many variables there, it's impossible for me to be able to tell you this is most likely the issue. What I do know is that sometimes birds just die animals just die for whatever reason. Sometimes multiple animals die for whatever reason. You never know what it was. It could be any number of things causing it. I wouldn't worry about it too much. If there are some birds and some animals in general, but it seems to be a little bit of a higher thing in some birds, carry a gene that is like a sudden death gene. I don't remember what it's called, but it can cause them to just die for no reason. So, if that's the case, then it's probably good that they did, because you're not passing that on. You're not going to get that in the rest of your birds. I don't know how old these birds were either. So, that's another thing that could play into it. I wouldn't worry about it too much. I have birds that just die for no reason every once in a while, and it's not a big deal. Now, if you start seeing like another bird's died after a week, then I would put some gloves on, do an autopsy on that bird, look for signs of parasites or illness or disease, look for white spots on the liver, make sure it's not coccidiosis, something like that happening. If they're not showing any symptoms though, and then you just found 2 dead birds, I don't know if it happens again. The things that I would do is I wouldn't worry about it at all unless it happened again. If it happens again, put a trail cam out there, make sure there's not some kind of predator coming around and, spooking them too much or something. Do an autopsy, all those things I talked about, and see if you can find it. But it's really impossible for me to know exactly what could have happened to them. I wouldn't worry about it too much. It's part of raising animals. You're just going to have some that die for weird, unknown reasons every once in a while. Blessed with Pets says, went to get a new parakeet last week and came home with 3. So glad I got them, though. I love the distraction. Well, awesome. Congratulations on your new parakeets. Had a parakeet one time. I was trying to teach it to talk. I know they're not very good at talking, but they can talk a little bit, right? And instead, it picked up on the dogs and it started mocking the dogs. So every time somebody would knock on the door, the bird would bark. Shay says, do you have a video of your water bowls for quails? Not understanding with the lids. Yeah, it's if you've seen my feeders, it's the exact same thing as my feeders. I did a watering video. I think Verna posted, yeah, she posted a link to that video down there. For some reason, oh, I don't want that. For some reason, it's not. Let me open that in a new tab. Yeah, it just keeps saying something went wrong. I don't know why it won't pop that up. But anyway, yes, there is a link. And if you go to my channel, you can probably, type in, like, search my videos, go to, click on my, like, Slightly Redneck, the name, and it'll take you to my channel page. And you can click on videos and you can type in water and search for that. And hopefully it'll come up in there. There's a whole bunch of videos on watering, but hopefully one of those will come up. Blessed with Pets says, now I have 4 parakeets. Taming is honestly going way better than I expected. Well, awesome. Congratulations on your new birds. Oh, there you go. Katrina's got the name of it even. Watering Quail, and I see you see that. Thank you guys for helping me out there. I appreciate that. William says, let's see, that's awesome that you can sell eggs. I feel like a pirate eating pickled eggs all the time. I used to love them. Now I just eat them. Yeah, I don't like pickled eggs, actually. I've never found a pickled egg that I liked. I've tried them a couple of different times. I don't care for them. I don't know. It's a weird thing to me. I thought it would be one of those things I'd love, and I just don't. Blessed with Pets says, I had 3 chickens die suddenly today and 2 almost dead. Only 4 left. They haven't laid eggs in months either. All hens. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. That is terribly frustrating. Shay says, do you sell your meat? If so, how much per pound for rabbit and how much for quails? I don't typically sell them. If I do sell, I'm not like set up to really sell to like restaurants or any of those kinds of things, but every once in a while somebody wants to buy some meat from me and it's somebody I know, or, they personally ask me or whatever. And yeah, sure. I'll sell you some meat rabbit, some rabbit meat or quail or whatever. Usually for rabbits, I charge $10, $15 per rabbit, just because, I don't measure it by the pound. For quail, I don't measure those by the pound either. I sell those for $7 a bird dressed out. That's how I do it. Anxious Aussie says, that sounds like an illness of some sort. Have you separated the healthy birds from the sick and cleaned all the bedding from the main pen? I don't know if you're talking to Blessed with Pets or to, was it Bob? Uncle Bob, I think it was. Is that right? Who was that? Uncle Dude. There we go. I don't know why I had Bob on the brain. Either one, though. Yeah, that's not a bad practice. That's definitely something that's not a bad idea to do. William says, I live in the woods and it is spotting season. What's spotting season mean? Oh, I see it later on. I get more people spotting for deer in any given night than cars passing by in a whole year. Yeah, I can imagine. I wish I had a place out in the woods, but they're expensive and hard to find. You find around here, what you find is like it's hard to find houses with land that I can afford. Not only that, but usually what you find is if you find houses with like, maybe they have 15 acres, but it's 15 acres of pasture, and I don't need 15 acres of pasture. I want, 15 acres, maybe an acre of it, cleared and the rest of it woods. That's what I would like to have, but it's just me. But again, I can't afford those places when they come up anyway. Anxious Aussie says it can be as easy as wild bird bringing in a new variant that they aren't immune to. It's a hazard here in Newcastle and other diseases. Well, you're right. It could be something like that. If you're only losing 2 birds, well, now, Blessed with Pets, maybe. That could be your issue. 3 chickens die suddenly today, 2 that were almost dead. You only got 4 left. That does sound like something serious going on. That's pretty, all 3 died on the same day, 2 almost dead. There's something going on there for sure. And you may be right. Could be some kind of disease. Bird flu is going around. It's still. So, it could be something. Now with the quail, I doubt that that's it. 2 birds a week apart. I think that's probably just a random, unfortunate thing, but I don't know. It's still not a bad practice if you want to clean and sanitize everything just to be sure. Katrina says, I would like pickled eggs more if they were the same texture as a hard-boiled egg. Yeah, the texture's a little weird. It's kind of like a pickled sausage. But I don't know, just the taste is not that great for me either. I don't really have too many texture issues. Shay says, do you keep any quail eggs or have laying hens? I don't know. Yeah, I do. I don't know what you're asking me. That seems like an odd question. Maybe you're not asking me, but yeah, I have. Oh, wait. Are you talking about chickens? I don't have any chickens. No, I don't have laying chickens. No. When I do meat runs, it's Cornish cross, and they're processed long before they would ever lay an egg anyway. They're not egg laying birds. So no, I don't keep laying hens right now. I may add chickens at some point. Who knows? Maybe I will. William says, I get more people spotting. Oh, I already read that one. Yeah. There's a good question on selling rabbit meat from Scrap 5000. Says here in New York City, is NYC, is that New York City? Says, I sell rabbit meat for $6 a pound live weight, butchering and packed. I also sell newly hatched quail for $5 each and adult quail for $10 each. Wow. Costs a lot more to live there, though, I'm sure. So the prices probably don't translate exactly, but that's a lot. Good job. Congratulations. Shay says, we're on 3 acres and have fit a hobby farm in. Yeah, I'm jealous. Congratulations. I wish I had. I mean, 3 acres isn't a lot, but it's plenty to do a lot with, and it's a lot more than what I have. I wish I had, 5, 10, 10 acres would be nice. 15 would be better, but, I wouldn't complain with either one. William says, birds barking. You're living the life. That was a long time ago. I don't have any parakeets anymore. That was, oh, good grief. That was close to 30 years ago. Bob Cole says, if you find a dead quail, you eat it or trash it. No, I do not eat animals. I do not eat an animal if I don't know how it died. That's just my personal rule. So if I find one that is died, if it's summertime, it goes to the black soldier fly larva. If it's winter, it goes out in the back tree line and it's gone the next day. I don't know what picks it up, but something. I do the same thing with squirrels that get caught in the trap, dispatch them and then throw them out in the back tree line. Something cleans them up every night. Don't know what it is. Probably the fox, but I don't know. Blessed with Pets says, honestly, I think they starved to death. My dad was supposed to be feeding them, and I guess he thought I was feeding them. Oh, no. That's terrible. I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, New York, NYC equals New York City. I figured that out. Hey, Yusuf's here. Haven't seen you in a while. Says, hello from Massachusetts. How you doing? How is everyone in the chat? Good. Doing well. Good to see you again. Thanks for joining. Verna says, yep, Chris, I agree. I raised them in my apartment. I don't know what you're agreeing to, but I knew you raised them in an apartment, but I don't know what I said that you were agreeing to, but good. Yeah, Katrina's got a good suggestion for you, Blessed with Pets. Says it might be a good idea for you to have a chore chart that gets signed off every day by whoever does the chores, so you know that things are getting done. That's a good idea. And not only so you know that things are getting done, so you're not doing something that somebody else has already done. That's a good idea. Oh, Verna, about wishing for more land. Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah, I do. I kind of keep an eye out for land around. I mean, I can't afford it anyway, but those places are not cheap. But I do keep an eye out just in case something comes up that I could afford. But like I said, it's always just pasture land everywhere. If you do find anything in my price range, it's pasture land. I don't want a 15-acre pasture. Shaylee says, what's your favorite way to cook rabbit? Oh, boy. Everybody asks me that all the time. I don't know if I have an absolute favorite way, but there are a couple of ways. Pretty much any way you do chicken. I don't think it does well fried. That's not my favorite. I don't like to fry it. It's way too lean in my opinion. But I don't like to fry chicken breast either. It's way too lean in my opinion. So I believe that it does better when you do it like crock pot or braise it or, something like that with some kind of liquid in it, chicken stock, something like that to help keep it from drying out and getting overcooked. I do it a lot of time. One of the go-to super easy ways to do it, it turns out good, is I buy those McCormick bag-in seasonings. It's like it comes with a bag. It's made for chicken. It comes in a bag. Comes with a bag and the seasoning, and then you're supposed to put vegetables and chicken in the bag, sprinkle the seasoning over them, seal it off, put it in the oven. it does great with rabbit. It works out really well for me. There's a lot. I mean, you can do rabbit and dumplings, rabbit noodle soup, like you would chicken noodle soup. It's good that way. A little chicken stock in there to help give it a little bit of flavor because it is kind of a blander meat. It will take on the flavor of whatever you cook it with. Those are a couple of ways that I like to do it. I've done it with enchiladas. Came out really good with enchiladas as well. So there's a lot of different ways you can do it. Any chicken recipe should work well. Bob says we have a half Katalua leopard dog, Aussie. She will eat them. What will she eat? What will she eat, Bob? I'm looking back up there. She'll eat something, huh? I'm sure my dog, I mean, he's got a huge prey drive. He'll go after anything. I've got him now to where he's starting to listen to me, where I can get him to kind of break from things. So it's not as bad as it used to be. But he'll tear up anything. I'm trying to keep him from eating the neighbor's cats when we go, if he gets out or something, because not eating them, but he'll kill them is what he would do. And I'm so afraid that he's going to get out, chase a cat, catch it on somebody's front porch and kill it right there in front of their kids. That'd be a huge issue. But but I don't know if he could take on a coyote. I don't know, honestly. I don't want him to anyway, or a fox for that matter. And then Shay wants to know my favorite way to eat quail. Oh, lots of ways to eat quail too. And very similar to chicken as well. I've done that with quesadillas are really good with quail. Think of those as like dark meat chicken. So, a lot of ways, kind of like dark meat chicken. They're very lean too, but they have more flavor in them than like, it's not like chicken breast where it's lean and not much flavor. Quail has flavor, but it is very lean. So, some added fat's going to be a good thing. I like to cut the breast off the bone, put a jalapeno on it, wrap it up with some bacon, maybe a piece of cheddar cheese and a jalapeno, wrap it up with some bacon, brush it with barbecue sauce and grill it off. Those are really good. Baked, I like it in a general saute or like a basic saute. So where you would like lightly bread. I usually cut it off the bone for that too, just because I don't like messing with the bone. It's easier to mess without it, to eat it without it. When you cook them, they're so lean, they tend to grab that bone really tight, and it's kind of hard to get them off the bone sometimes. So I like to cut them off the bone a lot of the time, unless you're going to bake it slow or something like that. But I will lightly bread them, saute them, not saute them, but brown them in some kind of fat, butter, bacon grease, a little oil, whatever. And then, just lightly brown them on every side, take them out. Cook down some vegetables like some onions, maybe some mushrooms, that kind of stuff. Make a roux with the leftover fat with some flour, cook it until the flour is cooked out. A little bit of stock or, whatever you want to thicken that up, make a gravy out of it, basically. So a stock, a white wine would work well, a little bit of milk, something like that to bring that up to a gravy, and then the quail go back in and cook it for 20 minutes or whatever until a light simmer until the sauce thickens up and the quail are done. That's really good too. So there's a couple of different ways. Katrina says, in a car on a hot day. I don't know what that means. In a car on a hot day, what? Is that your favorite way to eat them? What? I don't know what that means. Verna, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Verna has got the Quail in the Kitchen cookbook for sale for My Shire Farm. So that is you can go pick that up. It's a good recipe book. It's got a lot of recipes for cooking quail. Shay says, kids like the rabbit on the barbecue. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that either. Let's see. Poolside Dreamer says, hello, just got here. Got my first quail eggs in lockdown. They should hatch any day now. Well, good luck with your hatch. I hope it works well. And then Bob says, dead quail. I don't know what that means either. Oh, she'll eat the dead quail. Okay, good. Got that. I'm sorry, guys. It's hard for me to sometimes keep up because, I answered your question and there's a big delay from the time that I say something until the time you hear it. Not a big delay, but there's a delay. Not only that, but I've answered like 15 more comments before you post the next one. So I kind of forget what we were talking about. If I get lost in your comment, forgive me. I'm sorry about that. I picked up on this one. I got it. Your dog will eat the dead quail. That makes sense. Got it. Yeah. Okay. Got it. Blessed with pets. Got to head out. Well, we'll see you next time. Have a good night. How are we doing on time? Oh, we only got like 2 minutes left. See how many more comments I can get through in a couple of minutes. Sundial Fragrance Sniff Recommendations. What a name. Says, hey, Georgia from Texas here. Questions. Can we breed jumbo quail with standard size quail? Yes, you absolutely can. I mean, your birds will get smaller as they go instead of getting bigger, but yes, you can absolutely crossbreed them. They're all Coturnix quail. They'll crossbreed just fine. Yusuf says, yeah, I would be happy if a dog killed my cat. Oh, wouldn't be happy if a dog killed my cat. What breed is it? Oh, he's my dog is a pit bull pointer mix. And I don't mind cats. I don't necessarily like them running loose in the neighborhood. I have a weird thing about cats. Let me tell you about it. Hang on. I like cats just fine. I don't want them living in my house because I've never had a cat that would use a litter box all the time, and it's horrible, especially if you have carpet. Bad. So I don't like cats in my house. I don't like them living in my house. At the same time, I don't want them just roaming the neighborhood either, because we get a ton of cats, ton of not strays, they're probably people's pets, but they're just roaming the neighborhood all the time. And they're terribly destructive. They kill birds, they kill everything they can get, and they're bad about it. So I don't like that either, but I don't want my dog killing them either. So, it's a bad thing. I especially don't want him killing them, like I said, somebody's cat on their front porch in front of their kids. That would be traumatic for everybody and not a good neighborly thing to have happen. Porcupine Acres says, have 35 quail and 240 square feet. Am I overcrowding? No, you're not. You could have 240 square feet. Are you sure that's right? Is it 24 square feet? 240 square feet is huge amount of area. So you can generally, okay, I see it. Sorry, 24 square feet. But no, 35 quail and 24 square feet. If you have a wire bottom, especially where it's, the droppings fall right through, you're not having a buildup of, waste or any of that kind of stuff happening in there, they're fine. You can do that. The general rule of thumb is 1 square foot per bird, which would be 24 birds, but 35 is not too many. You're fine. Just watch for, if you start having like huge aggression problems or something like that, then maybe that's a sign that they're being overcrowded, but I wouldn't worry about it. So Katrina says 3 per square foot is the maximum. So there you go. Blessed with Pets says, I had a goat that killed my Yorkie. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. That's terrible. Shay says, you should do a recipe videos. Yeah, I should do some, shouldn't I? I've done a few. Living Traditions has a really good recipe or a recipe for quail, a video that they did. And that's that basic saute video recipe I was talking about earlier. It's pretty similar anyway. I don't remember exactly how they did it, but it was a really good recipe on it. You learn that technique, and that's good for almost anything. I mean, you can do once you learn a basic saute like that, it's just, basically sauteing anything. You can be cooked that way. You just switch the stuff up. So like, I can't remember if they did milk and thinned the roux out with milk and then made made gravy that way, or they used chicken stock or something like that. But it doesn't matter. You can trade those things out. So a lot of times I'll do that same method with like a beef loin. Usually it's with deer, tenderloin, the backstrap, not the tenderloin, but the loin, the backstrap. I'll do it with that, but I'll use like a Marsala wine or a, some kind of red wine to thin everything out with. And it turns out really good. Katrina says, cooking quail and rabbit in the car on a hot day. I did videos on that on my channel. Oh yeah, I remember that. Okay. I wondered if that's where we were going, but I wasn't sure what you were actually hitting on when you said hot in the car on a hot day. William says braised rabbit is the best. I think it is pretty good too. I agree. Sundial says, thank you much, y'all. You're absolutely welcome. Yusuf says cats are mean but cute. Yeah, they can be. And like I said, I don't hate cats. I kind of like them, but I don't know. Katrina says, if people get dogs run around the neighborhood like people let cats, people would complain. Not sure why cat owners think it's okay. Yeah, I know. I agree. And cats are way more destructive than dogs, as far as destructive on the wildlife population and all. William says, you take the rabbit to the broomstick while thinking of how many times you cleaned the poop pan, send the rabbit to the other side, skin and clean. Cook any way you want. Best meat ever. Yeah, there you go. All right, Sundial, I'm going to get these two other comments that are in here answered, and then I got to wrap this one up for today. Sundial says, I am new to quail. I have 18 standard and want to mix them with my jumbo in the future. What do you think? Is it smart move, or should I just mix jumbo with jumbo? If it was me, I would just mix jumbo with jumbo, because you start mixing jumbo with standard, your birds are going to get smaller over time, as opposed to getting bigger over time. And that's the whole point of jumbo birds, in my opinion. But that's just me. If you don't care about the size of the birds, then do it however you want to. It doesn't matter. But I would personally separate them out, phase out the standards, get the jumbos, and breed only the jumbos. But that's just how I would do it. Shay says, thank you for your networking. Joining your live has showed me other channels to check out. Well, awesome. Good. Yeah, check out all kinds of channels. Why not? It's great to have lots of different input on it, because you'll hear things from me that other people do differently. There's lots of ways to do it. Zach from my shire, and I did a video. Oh, it's been a while now. But he was on a trip to Louisiana and stopped by. And we talked about how, there's more than one way to do things. You're going to hear contradicting things from me and him on how we raise our quail. And that's okay. It's okay. Everybody's got a different opinion. You just got to figure out what's right for you, what works. So, all right, I got to wrap this one up for tonight. I see other comments coming up, but I'll just stay on here all the time. No, I do not have TikTok, Shay. I'm sorry. I don't. Yeah. All right. We will see you guys next week. Hopefully. I don't see any reason why we shouldn't at this point, but you never know. Sometimes things come up, can't make it. But until then, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to go spend some time with the family before it's time to go to bed. So thanks, guys, for joining me tonight. I appreciate it. We should see you guys next week. Have a great weekend, I guess. And as always, God bless.